So when you're starting to scale your Facebook ad campaign, you will usually at some point start to see that the profitability starts to drop off. So either the return on ad spend is getting lower or the CPA, cost per acquisition, is getting higher. And the challenge is to find your current scaling cap. So by scaling cap, I mean the current daily budget you can use without losing profitability. And in this video, I'm going to show you a very simple way of how you can easily find your scaling cap without losing profitability and wasting money. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Ola, and over the last 5 years, I've been helping multiple different businesses all around the world get much better results for their Facebook ads. And this YouTube channel is just where I simply share my learnings and my lessons with you guys. So if you want to see more of this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a comment if you have any questions, and make sure you give the video a like if you find it valuable. So right now I'm inside one of my clients' ad accounts, and I'm going to show you the strategy that we can apply, which I call the profit pulse scaling method, in order to find our current scaling cap. So we're going to find the maximum amount we can spend per day before we start losing profitability. As you can see right now, we're using 4,000 USD per day, but we want to see how high we can go before the CPA starts to increase beyond the point where we can continue to scale profitably. So the one mistake that we don't want to make in this situation when we want to increase the budget is increasing it in two big increments. So for example, we now spend 4,000, but if we just jump to 6,000 in one day and we see the next day or the next 2-3 days that the profitability drops off, then we don't know where between 4,000 and 6,000 we can comfortably spend before we start to lose profitability. So the key here is to increase the budget in small increments and make sure that we monitor it on a daily basis to see when the profitability starts to drop off, and then we stop the scaling there, and then we make some adjustments to break through our scaling cap. But before that, we want to make sure we find our current scaling cap with the creatives and the offer that we are currently running in this campaign. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to select the campaign, and then I'm going to go up under more, and then we're going to create a new rule. We're going to create a custom rule in this instance, and I'm going to give it a name. So in this case, we want to scale by 3% every day as long as we maintain profitability. So as you can see in the name, I put scale by 3% when the CPA is below 40 USD. So in our case, that's the max CPA we can afford. But as long as we have a CPA below 40, we will continue to increase the budget every day by 3%. Now, as you can see that I apply this rule to just this one specific campaign, but make sure that if you have ABO setup, that means you have the budget set on the ad set level, you have to set up this rule on the ad set level. So instead of selecting it on the campaign, you will go to the ad set and set up the rule on the ad set instead. So just keep that in mind. And then under action, we're going to increase daily budget by, and then we're going to insert 3%. And just for safety, we want to make sure we put in a maximum daily budget, just to make sure we don't scale beyond that without making a conscious decision of doing so. So we're going to put that at 10K. Now under the action frequency, we're just going to do this one daily. So we're only going to increase once per day. And under conditions, you want to make sure we switch from the default cost per result to cost per purchase. And we want to use the cost per purchase for the meta pixel. And that's because this is the objective that we have set on the campaign. If you just do cost per result, the rule is not going to work if you're using the meta pixel. So make sure you change it to cost per purchase or cost per whatever conversion event you want to optimize for, and make sure it's set up with the pixel if that's the thing you're using in the campaign. So for this condition, we're going to put is smaller than and then 40 USD. And by default, you can also see that automatically it puts in lifetime impressions is above 8,000 impressions. And that's just because in the beginning, when you just launch a new campaign, you could easily have cost per purchase way below this, and it can start to scale fairly quickly, but the results are not yet reliable because it's so early for the campaign. So it does not activate until you have 8,000 impressions. But in our case, we've already been running this campaign for a while. So this one is not really necessary, but it doesn't matter to have it there because we already have more than 8,000 lifetime impressions. So under time range, as you can see by default, it's set to maximum, but we definitely don't want to use maximum. So when you have the time range set to maximum, it means that the rule is going to look at the CPA based on the lifetime time period for your campaign. So it's going to look at the total time your campaign has been active and use that to calculate the average cost per acquisition. Now, we don't want to do that because we might have had a really good period in the start of the campaign, but now later on, it might be that the CPA is increasing a lot. And if that happens, we don't want to continue to scale based on the results that we got when we started a campaign. So we only want to look at the last 3 days in our instance, but you can also do 7 days if you want to have a bit more longer time period, but we want to increase quickly, so we're only going to look at the last 3 days. And under schedule, we're going to put daily, and then we're going to click create. So now our rule is created and we can go to manage rules to review and see if it would activate. So as we can see here, our rule is now active, it's enabled, and we can go ahead and click preview. And you can also see that if the rule were to be run now, it would meet all the conditions for the rule. So what we can do is we can just press run and it will start. You don't necessarily need to press run, but this is just because I want to get it to start now. And if I didn't do that manually, it would just wait until 12 a.m. Eastern time to start. So one more rule I would also set up is the inverted rule of this, so a downscaling rule. So if we have a CPA that's higher than what we want, we would automatically decrease the budget. So right now I'm just going to do the inverted version of the scaling rule. So we're going to have a downscaling rule that's similar, but it's just going to be the opposite direction. So we're going to select the campaign again, go under more, create a new rule, custom rule. Then I'm going to give it the name. So as you can see here, I'm giving it some room to work with. So we're not going to start to downscale until we're above 45 USD in CPA. And I'm also going to do the last 3 days here. So make sure you adjust budget, decrease budget by, and we do 3%. Now we also want to make sure we put in the minimum daily budget floor to where we started, so 4,000 USD. And that's just to make sure that we never scale below that, because we want to make sure we always maintain momentum and keep getting sales. So we don't want to scale below that. And we also know for very sure that we will be able to get profitable results at this budget level. And then just make sure you put in all the similar settings. Once daily under action frequency, put cost per purchase again for the meta pixel. And then we put greater than 45. Then we do last 3 days. And then we press create. And then we can go and manage our rules and just make sure that it's set up properly. And we can do a quick preview of the rule. So let's click preview. So as we can see right now, this rule would not run because our CPA is not above 45 and we are currently scaling. So this is exactly what I call the profit pull strategy. It also works really well together with a cost control bid strategy. So anything but highest value or highest volume. So you would like to use preferably cost per result goal or the ROAS goal or even bid cap. So when you're starting to use this rule and your campaign is scaling, you will obviously scale exponentially because it's percentage of the budget. So when your daily budget gets bigger, the amount that you increase the daily budget by is also going to get bigger. So you're going to see an exponential growth curve in your daily budget if your conditions are being met on a daily basis for a long time. Now, the reason why I recommend using a cost control bid strategy when you're using the profit pool scaling method is because when your daily budget gets really high, there is a risk if all of it is being spent, but you're not seeing results. So by using a cost control bid strategy, you're making sure that your daily budget won't even be spent if the algorithm doesn't think it can get you profitable results. Now, I made an even longer video that goes more into depth on this specific topic, so you can click up here and watch that. Just make sure that you're mindful of which bid strategy you're using when you're using the profit pool scaling method. Now, you don't have to be scaling by 3%. You can definitely choose this yourself. You can do 10%, 5%, 2%, even 1%. You can also scale by a specific amount so that you avoid the exponential scaling. But I recommend doing a percentage because you want to scale exponentially because it's going to give you better results when you have a really high daily budget. You will also have a lot more data coming into your campaign, which will make the targeting smarter. So there's a lot of benefits by scaling exponentially. Now, when you find your scaling cap, so when you find the maximum amount you can spend before the downscaling rule is starting to activate, that's when you need to change something up. So you either need some new creatives, you need a better landing page, or you need to optimize your offer in order to keep the CPA low enough to continue to scale. Now, if you find this video valuable, make sure you give it a like. And if you have any questions to this, make sure you leave a comment down below. I'm making sure to answer each and every comment in as much detail as possible. Also, if you want to join my newsletter and get access to the ROAS and CPA calculator in order to find your break-even ROAS and CPA, you can click the link in the description of this video and I'll send you that to your inbox. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.